on air and streaming now on ABC Listen.
This is 612 ABC Brisbane. Welcome to Afternoons with Kat Feeney.
Gets me every time. Welcome to Legal Eagles. Joining you today, Frank Higginson, a partner at Red Chip Lawyers, Strata specialist law firm. You're so much more seriouser than I. At least one of us is a grown-up human.
That didn't scare me that time, at least.
Good. Buying a unit or a townhouse can be a cheaper way to get a foot into the increasingly challenging property market. But if you've never lived in a strata situation before, Frank, there are a few ongoing costs you need to know about, including, and chiefly, probably, body corporate levies.
Yes.
How are they figured out in the first place?
Oh, well, I suppose there's two heads of charge in a sense. One is the sinking fund, which is sort of 10 years worth of future capital expense divided by the number of units across some anticipated costs. And I suppose as I sit here and literally comes to mind now, you look at construction costs going through the roof. Are all the sinking fund forecasts right? But again, that'll only be out by a little bit. And the other one is the administrative fund budget, which is really the expenses for the body corporate for that year. Yeah. Insurance, maintenance, administration, whatever else that goes with it. Those totalled up, divided by the number of unit owners, multiplied by a contribution schedule, lot entitlement paid quarterly, and you chip away at it. So it's sort of, in an expense sense, when you own your own house, you don't necessarily put money aside. Some people probably do. Most don't. You get a bill, you pay it. With body corporate levies, they're raised on an annual basis, paid quarterly, money's in the account, bills come in, gets paid as it goes, but you don't really see the bills as much as you do in a house. So it's sort of a forced saving in a sense, but there are many people who don't necessarily understand that there are these costs that come with a body corporate. And every body corporate manager who's out there will say they've had calls from people that have just settled their unit and said, what's this levy thing? I've paid my rates. And no, mate, your rates at a council, your water is to urban utilities, body corporate levies are really your insurance, amongst other things.
All right. So the fees then must be recalculated at some point, are they?
Every year.
So annually,
Yep.
they're checked every... Okay.
Yep.
So how are they enforced?
Well, this is the interesting thing about Strata, the land of the volunteer in which we all live.
Yeah.
I suppose in terms of enforcement, very strong legal word, how are people required to pay? They're issued, you've got to pay. If you don't pay, interest accrues at 2.5% per month, every month, so 30% per annum. So that's obviously hideously expensive compared to anything, including credit cards. And it continues to accrue and adds up. And body corporate committees actually have a statutory obligation to sue someone, like literally commence a proceeding 2 years and 2 months after an amount was first due.
Wow.
So this is the volunteer, it's sort of, I don't know of another piece of legislation anywhere that obliges an entity to literally commence a legal proceeding against someone else. But what happens in Strata is that, legitimately, people put their hand up to volunteer. They don't necessarily want to go and make a decision to sue Kat because she hasn't paid her levies.
Yeah, plus she gives me nice butter. So
absolutely, and she's a wonderful person to know. Invites you to all the ABC junkets that you go on.
Yeah, all of them. All of them. Yeah.
But you have to, because if you don't, and people don't pay, you do. There's a couple of these lurking around, finish in horrible places, and particularly for more investment type real estate. Maybe the units might have been worth 50, 70, 100 grand, whatever it is. Maybe and there's a couple of these that are designated where they can't be lived in full time, so they're only investment, you can only rent them out, et cetera, et cetera. And if people don't pay their body corporate levies, they're usually not paying their rates, they're usually not paying their land tax to the extent there's land tax, and these things accelerate really quickly. And if you haven't moved on that within a couple of years, the liabilities can exceed the value of the property. Okay. And then the body corporate's left in what do we do?
Well, I mean, this is sort of one aspect of rising rents too, isn't it? Obviously, to just kind of consider the full circle here. So if you've just joined, you're on 612 ABC Brisbane and ABC Queensland, where it's 5 minutes to 2. You'll have the news at 2 o'clock. I'm Kat Feeney and you're with Frank Higginson, who's a partner at Red Chip Lawyers, a Strata specialist law firm. Look, Frank's pretty good at general comment on matters relating to Strata. Cannot give you specific individual legal advice. You'll have to go see someone yourself for that. But if you have a general question that requires a general overview, Frank can help. 0467 922 612, or you can call 1300 222 612. That's 1300 222 612. Frank, just say someone isn't paying. Maybe a few people aren't paying. What happens if there's an insolvency issue for the body corporate? Can they trade?
Well, here's a little thing that not a lot of many people know.
Okay.
Bodies corporates can't ever be insolvent.
Okay.
So what does that mean?
Yeah.
It means so when a company becomes insolvent, it can't go and demand the shareholders pay money to top itself back up.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So if we're short $1 million, can't go to the 100 shareholders and say you're in for 10 grand each. A body corporate literally at law has to go and strike a special levy against all of the owners for the amount of the shortfall.
Wow. So that's another reason to go after Kat, even if she's not paying her, because you might end up having to cover
it's a
her.
thing people aren't aware of. So if you own a unit in your own name, you've effectively signed a personal guarantee for your proportionate share of that body corporate's expenses.
Wow. Yep.
Which is slightly terrifying for people. And that's, you get to this stage where people don't necessarily get too involved in what's going on in their body corporate. Someone else will look after it. I couldn't be bothered. I've got other things going in my life. And I get all that. But there are times when these things get mismanaged and you need to keep your eye on the detail, because if, levies get struck, bodies corporates can borrow, but then that's another liability they've got to pay back. And ultimately, all of that then potentially affects the capital value of the thing you own.
So is there help at hand for residents who cannot afford, like if they have really legitimate issues, they can't afford to pay their levies? I guess you just have to, sell up shop and get out of there?
Potentially. It's sort of like, for me, part of the question is why. Yeah, okay. So yes, you've got that obligation to go and commence a proceeding, but 2 years and 2 months is a long way after something's first come due.
Yeah.
And there is I suppose the brutalist lawyer in me says, well, just commence a proceeding, get on with it. The humanist part of me, which is deep down in there somewhere.
In there somewhere.
It's hidden away. It's beaten into submission. Is engage with people about what's going on. So, are you on some sort of financial strife? Can we get on some sort of payment plan? Can we get you back on track? Can we, because, the moment body corporate starts pursuing people, it racks up legal costs and all that sort of stuff. So that gets added to the bill as well, which is not a good thing. So some people want to stick their head in the sand and ignore it, but it doesn't go away. It just continues to accrue at that 2.5% per month. And in 12 months' time, it just gets, bigger and bigger and bigger.
All right. So talk before you walk is what you're saying.
And if you can't pay, reach out to your body corporate and say, hey, guys, I've got some issues. This is what I can do. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. And that will shut down, to me, probably 95% of the problems.
Okay. Frank, you've been very helpful as usual, Frank Higginson. Thank you very much.
Always,